Imagine reaching an age where you've gathered a lifetime of wisdom only to find that sometimes, the smartest thing you can do is act as if you know nothing at all. Surprising, isn't it? But in old age, there are moments when pretending to be a little stupid can actually be a brilliant strategy. Imagine walking into a conversation where someone is subtly trying to take advantage of you. Maybe it's a fast-talking salesman pushing an expensive product, a relative hinting at borrowing money, or even a so-called friend trying to manipulate your decisions. As we age, people often assume we are easy targets, believing that our wisdom has faded with time. But what if the smartest move in these situations is to act as if we don't fully understand what's happening? Instead of engaging, questioning, or challenging them, we let them believe we are a little slow, a little forgetful, or just not interested enough to fall into their trap. This small act of strategic ignorance can be incredibly powerful, saving us from stress, conflict, and even financial loss. There are plenty of people out there who look at older individuals as easy prey. Scammers, manipulators, and even some family members may think that we're too trusting, too kind, or too unfamiliar with modern tricks to protect ourselves. But the truth is, wisdom doesn't fade, it simply finds new ways to protect itself. Pretending not to understand when someone is trying to pressure you into something, whether it's a financial deal, a commitment, or a favor, can make them quickly lose interest. If someone is trying to rush you into making a decision, asking too many personal questions, or using complicated language to confuse you, acting as if you don't quite get it forces them to either explain themselves more clearly or, better yet, back off entirely. This method puts you in control without needing to argue, confront, or risk a relationship. Picture a scenario where a distant relative suddenly starts visiting more often, always talking about their struggles, hinting at financial help but never asking directly. They might assume that because you're older, you'll feel guilty enough to offer help. But instead of engaging in their game, you smile, nod, and act as if you don't quite catch the meaning behind their words. You change the subject, laugh at their indirect hints, and pretend to be more interested in the weather than their money troubles. Before long, they realize that their strategy isn't working, and they either give up or finally speak honestly, at which point, you can decide on your terms whether to help or not. This kind of pretend ignorance is also effective in situations where people try to impose their opinions or decisions on you. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone keeps insisting they know what's best for you? Maybe they believe you should sell your house, invest in something new, or change the way you live. Instead of debating, sometimes the best approach is to let them talk, not as if you're listening, but never truly commit to understanding or agreeing. "Oh, that sounds interesting, but you know, I never really understood all that financial stuff," you might say, smiling. Before long, they'll either stop pushing or move on to someone who is easier to convince. Family gatherings are another place where strategic ignorance can be a lifesaver. We all know that families, as much as we love them, can be filled with tension, disagreements, and conflicts, especially when it comes to money, inheritance, or personal decisions. As we age, it's not uncommon for family members to start discussing what they think should happen with our assets, our home, or even our personal lives. Some might do it out of genuine concern, while others may have their own interests in mind. But rather than engaging in heated discussions or feeling pressured, simply acting as if these conversations are too complex or unimportant can protect you from unnecessary stress. Imagine a family gathering where someone brings up the topic of inheritance, hinting at what should happen to your belongings. Instead of taking the bait, you chuckle and say, "Oh, I haven't even thought about all that, I'm just enjoying my time right now." You divert the conversation to something lighthearted, making it clear that you are in no rush to entertain such discussions. This approach allows you to maintain control over your own decisions without being drawn into family politics or financial disputes. Another common scenario is when family members start arguing over old conflicts, dragging you into situations that you have no interest in revisiting. Perhaps siblings are debating over past grievances, trying to get you to take sides. Instead of getting involved, playing a little clueless can be the best escape. "Oh, you know, I can't even remember all that anymore, but I do remember when we all had so much fun as kids." Redirecting the conversation away from drama and toward positive memories allows you to maintain a peaceful environment while avoiding unnecessary stress. The beauty of this approach is that it puts you in control without appearing confrontational. Instead of saying no outright, which can sometimes lead to arguments or resentment, pretending not to understand shifts the burden back onto the person trying to manipulate or pressure you. They become frustrated with their inability to steer you in their direction, while you remain unbothered and in control of your own choices. This doesn't mean you should always act unaware. Of course, there are moments when standing your ground and speaking up is necessary. But in situations where people are trying to impose their will on you, exploit your kindness, or drag you into unnecessary drama, a little well-placed stupidity can be the wisest move of all. Imagine reaching a point in life where you've worked hard, made sacrifices, and now deserve to enjoy your time the way you choose. Yet, despite this, people around you may expect you to take on responsibilities that you neither want nor need. It could be family members assuming you'll always be available to babysit, friends expecting you to handle their problems, or even society pressuring you to remain constantly engaged in things that no longer bring you joy. At this stage, life should be about peace and fulfillment, not obligations that drain your energy. And one of the best ways to avoid being burdened with unnecessary responsibilities is to play a little stupid when the situation calls for it. Picture this: your children or grandchildren assume that, since you're retired, you must have endless free time. They ask you to watch the kids, run errands, or help with tasks that, frankly, you don't have the energy or desire to do. Of course, you love your family, but just because you're available doesn't mean you should be the go-to solution for everything. Instead of feeling guilty for saying no, a little selective ignorance can be your best tool. "Oh, I'd love to, but I get so tired these days, and I just don't think I could keep up." With that, you've set a boundary without confrontation, making it clear that your time is your own. Then there are those who bring their personal problems to you, expecting advice, intervention, or even financial help. Maybe a friend frequently calls, venting about their endless troubles, hoping you'll step in and fix things for them. Rather than getting sucked into their emotional baggage, pretending not to fully understand or offering light-hearted responses can work wonders. "Oh, dear, that does sound complicated. I never was good at these things. But I'm sure you'll figure it out." Instead of being seen as the problem solver, you gently remove yourself from the role they've assigned you. It's the same with community obligations. Perhaps your neighbors or social circle expect you to volunteer for every event or take on leadership roles in clubs simply because they assume you have nothing else to do. While it's wonderful to be involved, you shouldn't feel obligated to commit to something just to please others. Next time someone asks, try responding with, "Oh, I wish I could, but I get so forgetful these days. I'd probably mess things up." Most of the time, they'll move on to someone else without pushing further. The truth is, you've spent decades fulfilling responsibilities, raising a family, working a job, being there for others. This phase of life should be about enjoyment, relaxation, and choosing what truly matters to you. If pretending to be a little clueless about certain obligations helps you avoid unnecessary stress, then it's one of the smartest things you can do. Another area where this tactic is useful is in avoiding arguments that serve no real purpose. As we age, we realize that not every battle needs to be fought. Some conversations, especially with stubborn people, simply aren't worth the energy. We've all been in situations where someone insists they're right, even when they're clearly wrong. It could be about politics, lifestyle choices, or even simple everyday matters where people refuse to see another perspective. Instead of engaging in a frustrating debate, sometimes the best move is to act as if you don't quite follow what they're saying. Imagine sitting at a family gathering where a younger relative is confidently explaining something they're completely wrong about. Maybe they're dismissing your experience, claiming things work differently now. Rather than wasting energy trying to correct them, a simple, "Oh, is that so? My old brain just can't keep up with all these new ideas," can diffuse the moment. They feel validated, you avoid pointless back and forth, and the conversation moves on without tension. It's even more useful when dealing with people who love to argue just for the sake of it. Some individuals thrive on conflict, trying to pull others into heated debates. Whether it's about the news, social issues, or personal matters, they seem to enjoy the fight more than the discussion. Engaging with them only drains your peace. Instead of getting pulled into their web, a little playful ignorance can save your energy. "Oh, I never was good at keeping up with all these things. You know me, just enjoying my quiet life." It signals to them that you're not interested in the argument, and soon enough, they'll move on to someone else who is. There's also the matter of personal pride. Sometimes, we hold on to the need to prove we're still as sharp, knowledgeable, and capable as ever. But true wisdom is knowing when to let things go. Letting someone else win an argument, even when you know better, doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Why waste time and energy proving a point that doesn't really change anything? This approach also works beautifully in situations where people try to criticize your lifestyle choices. Maybe someone keeps insisting that you should be more active, travel more, or do things differently. Instead of arguing, just smile and say, "Oh, I suppose you're right, but I'm just an old creature of habit." They get the satisfaction of feeling knowledgeable, while you get to continue living exactly how you want, undisturbed. What's important to remember is that this isn't about actually being ignorant, it's about knowing when intelligence is better used for peace than for proving a point. Pretending not to fully grasp a conversation, an argument, or an obligation allows you to control how much energy you invest in situations that don't serve you. In the end, choosing peace over unnecessary confrontation or responsibility is not only wise, it's the ultimate freedom. There comes a point in life where peace becomes the most valuable asset you own. You've spent years working, making decisions, solving problems, and managing responsibilities. Now, you deserve the right to live life on your terms without feeling the need to constantly prove yourself or explain your choices to others. Yet, many people struggle to accept that. They want to give unsolicited advice, judge your decisions, and sometimes even challenge your authority, assuming that because you are older, you must also be outdated in your thinking. But wisdom teaches that not every battle is worth fighting. Sometimes, the best way to maintain your dignity and sanity is to let people believe what they want while you quietly live as you please. Think about how often younger people assume they know better simply because times have changed. They believe their way of thinking is superior, and they are quick to dismiss the experience and knowledge of those who have lived far longer. Maybe you've tried to share a lesson from your past, only to be met with an eye roll or a dismissive comment about how things are different now. Instead of pushing back, the smartest move can be to simply smile and say, "Oh, I guess I just don't understand how things work anymore." This response lets you disengage while keeping your wisdom intact. You're not admitting to being wrong, you're simply avoiding a pointless argument. This approach also works when people question your choices, especially regarding how you spend your time and money. Maybe you choose to live a simple life, content with what you have, while others push the idea that you should be spending more, traveling more, or keeping up with modern trends. They might say, "Why don't you upgrade your phone? Why don't you try this new technology?" Instead of explaining why you don't feel the need to chase every new trend, a lighthearted, "Oh, I can never figure out these new gadgets anyway," puts an end to the conversation. It allows you to keep your peace without unnecessary debates or justifications. There's also the matter of people who assume they have the right to dictate your lifestyle. Some might criticize the way you dress, the places you go, or even the company you keep. They act as though they have the authority to tell you what's best for you. But the beauty of reaching a certain age is realizing that none of that matters. Your happiness is yours alone to define. And when faced with people who think they know best, pretending to be indifferent or slightly unaware can be the perfect shield. "Oh, I suppose you're right. But old habits die hard," you can say with a chuckle, effectively ending the conversation while staying true to yourself. This tactic is especially useful when dealing with those who try to take advantage of kindness. Some people believe that because you are older, you will automatically be more trusting, more willing to help, and less likely to question their motives. They might use flattery, emotional stories, or manipulation to get what they want. But instead of falling into their trap, a little strategic cluelessness can turn the situation around. If someone asks for a favor that you don't want to do, instead of outright refusing and creating tension, acting as if you don't quite follow what they're asking makes it easier to avoid commitment. "Oh, I'd love to help, but I get so confused with these things." Keeps you in control without confrontation. This is particularly important when it comes to financial matters. Some people assume that older individuals are easy targets for scams, bad investments, or financial requests from manipulative friends and family. You might be approached with business ideas, investment opportunities, or even direct requests for money under the assumption that you won't question things too deeply. The best response: "Oh, I never did understand all these complicated money matters. I leave all that stuff alone." This statement discourages further discussion, signaling that you are not someone they can easily persuade. Even when dealing with professionals, whether it's a mechanic, a contractor, or a financial advisor, playing a little ignorant can protect you. If you act as though you don't fully understand, they are forced to slow down, explain things more clearly, and, in many cases, treat you with more honesty. Someone trying to overcharge you might reconsider if they sense that you are not as unaware as they initially thought. Instead of engaging in an argument over price or service, simply responding with, "Oh, I don't know much about these things, but my friend always helps me with this stuff," can make them rethink their approach. Beyond financial matters, this approach is just as valuable in social interactions where people try to pull you into drama. Whether it's gossip, petty arguments, or unnecessary conflicts, pretending not to catch on to certain comments can save you a lot of stress. If someone tries to bring up drama or involve you in negativity, a well-placed, "Oh, I must have missed that, I don't pay much attention to these things anymore," shuts down the conversation without making you seem rude or disinterested. It's a liberating feeling to reach a stage in life where you no longer feel the need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need to justify your choices, argue over unimportant matters, or defend your way of living. Letting people believe what they want, while you quietly continue enjoying your life, is one of the smartest ways to maintain peace. Acting a little unaware or indifferent in certain situations doesn't mean you are actually unaware. It means you have mastered the art of picking your battles wisely.